Faceless, Chapter 3 by Arkin Gelisin. As soon as the hospital received information about the wounded man, preparations for the operation began immediately. Everyone who saw the injured person, who looked more like a pile of meat, lying on the gurney, was at first unsure how to react. After a brief period of confusion, everyone began to treat the person as a normal injury, but the sight was anything but normal. The injured person's face no longer resembled that of a human. It looked more like a rubber doll with a face pressed in. The left arm appeared longer than the right arm due to a dislocated left shoulder. From the right elbow down, the arm twisted in the opposite direction of normal human anatomy. The top of the head was swollen like a balloon, and part of the left side of the skull was missing. A hole about the size of a pack of cigarettes was covered only by skin. The right leg was bent in at least 3 different angles, creating a zigzag shape. These were just the visible fractures. 13 fractures were discovered throughout the body during the operation. There were also 1st to 3rd degree burns on various parts of his body. The primary goal of the doctors, led by brain surgeon Professor Armstrong, was to keep Lester alive. Aziz and Julia arrived at the hospital just as the operation was about to begin. Julia remained silent throughout the trip, while Aziz tried to find an explanation, but quickly realized that talking would be futile. The waiting room seemed to expand and contract with Julia's breathing. Each breath filled her lungs with the sickening smell of the hospital, which was particularly repulsive that day. After a short wait, Julia suddenly rushed to the bathroom and began vomiting. Aziz felt helpless and could only watch. Despite his attempts to stay strong for Julia, he slowly lost control. Lester was more than a friend. He was like a brother to Aziz. Lester had eased Aziz's transition to a new life in Canada by supporting him financially and emotionally. Their friendship was well known, so Aziz was the best person to tell Julia about the accident. When he went to Lester's house, the police began questioning him about the incident. Where had Lester been? Had he been acting alone again? Perhaps this terrible incident, which could happen to any father or mother, had changed everything. Lester was not the same person. He had completely shut down. The private conversations with Aziz were a thing of the past. A lot had changed since then. Before, everyone had envied the Romeros, but after the incident, they were no longer the loving couple they had been. Aziz was aware of the problems in their marriage, and even before the accident, he knew that divorce was being considered. Lester had changed drastically. His only goal now was to catch the serial killer who had darkened his life. It had become an obsession. Lost in his thoughts, Aziz suddenly noticed a cup of coffee in front of him. After Julia had returned from the bathroom, she had gotten coffee for both of them from the hospital's coffee machine. Aziz took the coffee and leaned back while Julia sat next to him, holding her cup with both hands. They both stared silently at the white wall in front of them. After taking a sip from her cup, Julia broke the silence. What was he doing back then? Where did he come from? What was his obsession again? Aziz looked at his cup, took a deep breath, and answered Julia. I'm asking myself the same questions. It's Lester. You know his only intention was to catch that son of a bitch, and when he was on the hunt, he didn't consult anyone, including me. I have no hope left. I can't be as obsessed with this terrible incident as he is, Aziz. He thought he was responsible, and he thought I blamed him too. He thinks... Sorry? Aziz looked at Julia, who was sitting next to him. He thinks... You're talking about him in the past. Lester is not someone from the past. He is a strong person. He will survive the surgery. Julia took another deep breath and said, I know. Over the next 3 hours, Aziz made several phone calls to get more information about the accident. Julia called home a few times to check on Sarah. Julia's mother had come over after hearing about the accident because she didn't know how long the hospital process would take. Julia hadn't told Sarah what was wrong when she left the house, But even at 10 years old, Sarah could sense that something was wrong. She chose to be quiet and not cry so as not to burden her mother. The surgery had been ongoing for 3 hours when a nurse appeared at the door of the waiting room. "Mrs. Romero?" Julia and Aziz stood up as soon as they heard the name. Julia hurried over to the nurse. "How is Lester? Is he okay?" The nurse tried to give her a smile before answering. "Mrs. Romero, Professor Armstrong, who performed the surgery, is waiting for you and will explain all the details." Professor Armstrong was busy examining a brain MRI on his desk when he saw the blonde woman with a worried look on her face. He didn't have to guess who it was. "Mrs. Julia Romero, please sit down." Julia sat down across from the professor, her face filled with worry. "Is my husband all right?" The professor ran his hand through his white hair, which matched his white apron. He looked over his glasses and began to speak. "Julia, the operation is still in progress. I just came out to give you an update. I don't have much time, so I'll be brief. I'm not going to lie to you. Your husband is in critical condition. The surgery will take several more hours. The injuries to his head are particularly severe, so his condition is critical. Our main goal in this surgery is to keep him alive. There will be more surgeries in the future. The outcome of this surgery is critical. We will monitor his progress and determine the next steps." Julia's shoulders slumped a little when she heard the news. The professor removed his glasses and leaned back. "Mrs. Romero, the fact that your husband is still alive is already a miracle. He is a strong man. My team and I are working hard to keep him stable. The injuries to his brain are severe. Our immediate goal is to stabilize him. As I said, surgery will continue for several more hours. You don't have to wait here. We'll call you. But if you feel more comfortable staying here, you're welcome to do so. It's up to you." Julia looked at the professor with tear-filled eyes and struggled to speak through her choked throat. "I will stay until my husband wakes up." The professor got up and walked Julia to the door. He placed a gentle hand on her shoulder, showing support for the desperate and exhausted woman. "Don't worry. We'll do everything we can." As Julia left the room, she caught sight of Aziz, who had been waiting for her outside the office. Without saying a word, she hugged him and began to cry.